great deal. We know a great deal about, oh, for goodness, there I am with the goddess Athena, my own particular archetype. We know a great deal about the qualities of the possible human and the many different kinds of capacities that are ours to enjoy. I'd like to give you not only a description, but I would like to do this interactively with you. Okay? Because they said, do the experiential piece at the end of the day. They're so tired of listening to do things. Okay? All right. Let's start, first of all, with the sensory and physical capacity. I once made a study of 55 of some of the most sustained creative people in North America. By sustained, I mean they really kept up their creativity. It wasn't a one-shot deal. Among my research subjects were Jonas Salk, Margaret Mead, Joseph Campbell, and Buckminster Fuller. A number of these for many, many years. Joe Campbell, 20 years, Margaret Mead, 6 years, you get the idea. And they would come to my house and leave, and I would study the way their minds worked. And what I found out, friends, was so interesting. Their minds were, the real estate of their minds was not occupied by anger or resentment or same old, same old. They were not living or thinking lives of serial monotony. They were all rather passionate people. And what was particularly interesting is that they themselves were passionate about their own minds. They were archaeologists of their own minds. They were spelunkers in the caves of their own creativity, you see. And we found that they thought in images, they thought in words, they thought with their whole bodies, they thought in rhythms. They were, as I say, almost like the Yoruba people, they were really dancing the great symphony of their own mind-body systems. And this is what allowed them to go deeper and allowed them to have the genius of the follow-through. So, for example, Margaret Mead thought across the entire spectrum. And one of the reasons that she was, is that at 76 years old, she might as well have been 11 years old. That was her self-image. Mine is 14. God, I don't remember what that's funny. And so she was told as a child, you are a completely satisfactory child. That's what I am, a completely satisfactory child, you know. And she stayed that even at 76, 77. But the other fascinating thing was they thinking in many, many different modalities, which gave them a very different perspective on the creative act. Because when you come at a creative form from multiple perspectives, then what happens is the creative process that is going on all the time, I am convinced, beneath the surface crust of consciousness rises to meet you, and you have more hooks and eyes to catch the creative process. It's called the automatisms of the creative process, the self-creating works of art. How many of you ever found self-creating works of art rising out of you? Where the heck did that come from? I mean, Enid Blyton, you know, great English story writer, she wrote, what, 400 books? Wonderful images. And he said, how can you compose so much? He says, what would I do is that in the morning I put my typewriter on my knee and a piece of paper and I watch. And after a while my characters come out and they start doing their little story and I just type what I see. And sometimes I hear and sometimes they tell a joke, a jolly good one, and I laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. I realize I couldn't have thought of that in 100 years and I wonder who thought of it. Joseph Campbell, I used to hypnotize him. I thought, oh boy, hot dog, I'm going to have front row seat in the genesis of myth. So I would take him down. I would say, now, Joe, are you deeply in trance? Uh-huh. What do you see? Nothing. What do you mean, nothing? Nothing. Why? I've never seen an image. I don't see images, I feel them. That's the hero's journey, not the hero's symbol. It was kinesthetic. I said, well, how dare you write about all these images and symbols? Yes, but he said, I feel them. You see, so the nature of imagery can be along an extraordinary spectrum of other possibilities. Kinesthetic imagery, there's a kinesthetic imagizer. But the point, friends, is that they used as much as they could to bear upon any issue. Now, what I believe is happening in our time, and this is one of the things that I teach people to do when we work on impossible problems. I work with the United Nations a great deal. as a senior consultant in human development. So I'm sent to all these countries and have horrible, terrible problem, is I make sure that people are tapping into this extraordinary plenum of possibility that comes when you start cooking on more burners. Follow, okay? Now, what else does this mean? This means also that you're tapping not simply into the creative unconscious, you're tapping into the cosmic unconscious as well, the collective unconscious, the cosmic. We have very leaky margins in our inner world. We have margins not simply to archetypal realities, but also perhaps to the data of the universe itself, particularly if we are the universe in miniature. Radical statement, I think it's true. I think of a wonderful scientist, a very well-known scientist, who worked with me, who was a very major scientist at the Rockefeller Foundation. He says, when I enter into my own mind, I find the things that I have put together, because I have many skills, but suddenly it opens up to that which is so beyond what I can think about. All I can say is I find myself in the warehouse of God. And this is where imagination then begins to pass into the imaginal, the great form-creating, atomic, if you will, constructs that are there and available for all of us. I am convinced that extraordinary possibilities are there for us to rethink the immense challenges of our time.